you find a new vegetable lady.
I really just don't have the desire to put the effort into making a new relationship with a new vegetable lady.
Yeah.
I think Schnefa only comes on Saturdays, so. Hey everyone, welcome back to Chef Tyler's Creation Kitchen, and today we're making Pašta fažol. Yes, I'm sure you've heard of it as an Italian dish, but this is the Dalmatian version, more specifically my mom's Dalmatian version. Probably mentioned before, but we'll go over it all again. The coastal part of Croatia used to be ruled by Italy, so there's a lot of Italian influence in that area, hence we have Pašta fažol. It's a little bit different than the Italian version, I think. I've never actually had the Italian version, probably because the Dalmatian version is better.
You never had the version in America?
Pasta fagioli. No, weirdly enough. And I am from New Jersey, where they always say like those things like, "Hey, pasta fagioli, gabagool." I never realized that like gabagool was just a New Jersey thing, and like people outside New Jersey don't know what gabagool is. Pašta fažol obviously is pasta and beans, fažol being the Dalmatian version of beans. The normal Croatian word is grah, as you can see right here, but along the coast we use fažol. We also use fažol for every kind of bean along the coast, including green beans, whereas here in continental Croatia there's a different word for green beans, that being mahune. Fažol then comes from the Italian fagioli. And when I was younger, my grandma would make chicken and green beans, and she would call it chicken and fagioli, our nice little Crow English that we use, with the fagioli meaning obviously the beans and coming from the Italian or Dalmatian word. So this is a very, very quick recipe. It basically takes as long as it takes for water to boil and to cook the pasta. That's because we're using canned beans. You could use dry beans, and then that would just make it take longer, but why would you want to do that to yourself? We're making this today specifically because one of my friends asked if I could send him one of my videos that was quick and easy for him to do in his college house, because his kitchen isn't great, and it took a lot longer for me to...
In a coast?
Inspired by my friend who asked if I could send him one of my videos of something that was quick and easy for him to do in his college house, because the kitchen he has isn't the best, and it took way too long for me to actually find something to send him. I eventually did. It was the Narodni odrasci, because that is actually pretty quick and easy to do. But other than that, everything else we've done has been more or less labor intensive, be it at the start or the entire way through. Croatians aren't really known for their quick and easy meals, I guess you could say. Except for this one, so that's why we're doing it now. And this way I can show something that you can do based on a weekday, and you don't have to worry about setting aside 3-4 hours for your meat to tenderize in the stew pot. So, like I said before, we're using canned beans.
They are recording.
Beef.
You could use dry, but make sure you soak them overnight, and you want to cook them for 40 minutes before adding anything else in. Because we're using canned beans and they're already cooked, we really just want to bring them up to temperature, so we're going to put them into the water along with the pasta. The pasta we're using today is fusilli. Use whatever kind of pasta you like, but I would not use like spaghetti or fettuccine, anything long. Something smaller like fusilli, maybe penne or ziti would work as well. This is gluten-free pasta because we're doing something that Kaylin can actually eat. She's here all the time and suffering because she can't actually eat any of the food that we're making, so gluten-free pasta today. Use gluten-full pasta if you like, and you can. Don't use gluten-full pasta if you're gluten intolerant.
Probably a wise disclaimer.
I'm going with 2 onions here just because they're small, but if you have 1 large onion, that's just as fine. Going with 4 cloves of garlic, we're not vampires. And of course the holy trinity of Croatian spices, salt, pepper, and paprika. And lastly, we have pancetta for a little bit of meat. You don't have to use a pancetta if you want to keep this meatless, but we're going with it because it is not a Friday. So basically, like I said, all this is done in the time it takes for water to boil and pasta to cook. So the way we're going to go about this is we're going to chop up our onions, mince the garlic, and cube the pancetta. Then we'll head on over to the stove We'll set the water up to boil, cook the pancetta and the onions, and once that's done cooking, the water should have come to a boil. We'll put the pasta in, put the beans in, put everything from the pan, so the pancetta and onions, into the pot with the pasta and beans. Let that cook until the pasta is done, and that is your meal. So let's get to it, and I'll see you in a little bit. So with everything prepped, we're over here at the stove. Got my pot of water over here and my pan. So we'll turn on the burner, bring the water up to a boil, and in the meantime, I'm gonna take the pancetta. First, I'm gonna put it directly into the pan without the heat. My pancetta is very, very fatty, so I'm gonna put this onto a low flame. Yeah, it's on. A low flame, and then that way we'll render out the fat and it'll cook in its own fat. If your pancetta is not as fatty, use olive oil instead. Maybe a tablespoon or two. And be sure to stir the pancetta around to make sure all sides are evenly browned. And once the pancetta has browned on all sides, I have a side plate here. We're just going to remove it from the pan. Okay. And if you have way too much oil like I do here, we'll just pour it into a side container to save for later. You want to keep about maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons of the oil. With the remaining oil, turn the heat up to high and we'll add in all of the onions. And we'll cook these until translucent. The leftover pancetta fat you can use to make eggs, or any other time I mentioned using lard, you can use that as well, because it is basically just rendered pork fat fluid. And once the onions are translucent, we'll go in and add the garlic directly into the pan. We only want to cook for about a minute, as per usual, just for the garlic to get fragrant. Give a stir. The water is starting to come to a boil, so we know we've timed everything correctly. As our garlic is coming up and heat warming up and starting to get fragrant, we'll add in about a teaspoon of paprika. Let's grab some salt, some pepper, add back in the pancetta, so there's some extra oil in there too, and give everything a stir to mix well. And we're going to add about 250 grams, or about half a pound of pasta into our pasta pot. That's about half this, so I'm just gonna... Next, we have beans. Directly into the pasta. And lastly, the onion mixture. Everything goes directly into the pot. This is such a bummer that you're doing it. I'm going to change burners because this one isn't as strong as the other one. 1, 2, 3. On. Off. We want to bring this back up to a boil. Once it comes up to a boil, cook for however long it says for your pasta to cook. If it looks like you ever need a little bit more water, go ahead and add some in, but we do have not a lot of water in here, mainly because we don't want this to be really too soupy. I want it a little more stew-like. I'm sure there's some versions of pasta fagioli that don't have any kind of water into it. It's just beans and pasta separately. And I swear my mom has made this before, but she says she hasn't, so maybe I'm just making it up. I don't know. But it does sound like it'd be good. Anyway, once this comes back up to a boil, like I said, we'll let it cook for however long your pasta needs to cook, and then I'll meet you back over at the counter for tasting. And once the pasta has finished cooking, take it off the stove, and it is time to serve. Got a plate right here. We'll just go and get everything in. We got all the pasta, the beans. The pasta definitely blew up a bit, I guess as it's supposed to. So it might look like there's not a lot of water at the start, but there is just as much water as there should have been. Get a little bit of the broth in here too, why not? All right, and here we have Pašta fažol. Put some parsley on top just to make it look good. So let's just go right in and take our taste for Greg. I need to get some pasta on here so I can get everything in one bite. So one thing I forgot to take into account is the saltiness of the pancetta, because this is quite salty. If you do have salty pancetta, it's a good idea to blanch it. So throw it into a pot of boiling water for about 2 minutes dry it off, and then go ahead and cook it. That'll pull out a lot of the salt. Also, don't salt your pasta water like you would a normal pot of pasta, because we're not draining the pasta water, so all the salt is just going to stay in there. Other than that, and all the salt, it is actually quite nice. The gluten-free pasta doesn't really taste any different than normal pasta, which I was really surprised about. And it works well with the beans, nice and tender and soft, and the pancetta adds a little bit of a crunch. Not like a hard crunch, but definitely a change in texture. So this was Pašta fažol. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe, and dobar tek.
The whole American Italian thing is so amusing to me because it's a whole different language.
Yeah. People say it's Neapolitan-esque. I've never been to Naples, so I've not been able to check.
I hear that a lot as well whenever people are talking about those words.
Hey! Hey, Johnny! Bring the gabagool! We're gonna have a party!
Hey, Tony!
What the Family Guy skit? Hey, beepra bapra boopra beepra, a bapra beepra boopra beepra bra.
It's not offensive at all.
What do you mean, Ted McFarlane is like the most sensitive person out there?
Mm-hmm. He is always politically correct.
Always. Well, this is Italian. Let's see if I can. A pasta senza glutine, senza pimente, formulate per persone intolleranti al glutine con mais bianco, mais giallo e riso integrale. My dad
I don't
pretends
think
he knows.
that's how that goes.
Maybe the accent was off, but you know the words are there.
It sounded like you were singing a song.
But isn't that just what Italian is?
You know that
Singing?
song? That's like, what's the matter, you? Gotta know respect.
Nope.
What do you think you do? Why you look so sad? What you sounded like? You've never heard that song?
Nope.
Play it now. No, YouTube's gonna copyright strike you for that.
Yeah, I don't think I have. I am not paying for that copyright. There's also French. Spécialité, oh god, céréalière sans gluten, spécialement formulée pour les personnes souffrant d'une intolérance au gluten.
Did you learn French in school?
No, I
Your
went
French
to...
accent is better than your Italian accent.
Okay, to be fair, I wasn't trying there. Pasta senza glutine, specificamente formulate per persone intolleranti al glutine, con mais bianco, mais giallo e riso integrale. See, I can try. I can do better. It's like
corn,
Croatian.
White, yellow corn,
Mm-hmm.
and whole grain rice.
So they have Croatian on here.
On the
I
back,
could really
in the
fuck
sticker.
up a Croatian. Oh, here we go. Wait, what stupid accent do I want to do in Croatian?
Your choice.
I can do a lot. It's so fun, and it pisses off every Croat. What did I do? I did a weird southern accent all down in Croatia. Evo nas hrana za osobe neintolerante na gluten. Sastoji bijelo kukuruzno brašno, 60% žuto kukuruzno brašno, 29,5%.
You sound like a banjo.